My name is John Walton, and today we're going to demonstrate how to set up a chick tank at the Wilco store in McMinnville, Oregon. We use several different sizes of tanks in our chick setups, so different stores are different. Here in McMinnville I use a 2x4 tank. Some stores will be using 2x6s, but with a 2x4 metal galvanized stock tank, one heat lamp is sufficient. Stores who are using 6-foot tanks may need 2 to keep the temperature correct. We'll show how to actually install the heat lamp. The heat lamp is, we use a metal galvanized non-clamp, just a hanging heat lamp, and a red heat bulb. As you'll see, we have a red heat bulb here. There are several different types of heat bulbs, but always use a red heat bulb, a 250 watt. We do have 150 or 125 watts available, and some folks will need that in their tank setup. So to install the heat lamp, we use a metal wire clamp. We have a tool that is available at all the stores to install that clamp with. Installing the wire zip tie, it goes through from the back side, slide it up as far as possible so that it's well secured, and you put the little wrench over the top of it and just twist it down as it pulls it tight. And once it's good and tight, you can cut that end off. The reason we use the metal zip tie is that the heat from the lamp can heat this, and if it's a plastic zip tie, it can come loose and let your lamp fall down into the tank, causing a fire. Once that's on there and it's good and secure, you can then zip tie the cord. I like to put a plastic zip tie as a backup, and just in case something was to happen, and then make sure that the cords are all secure so that they don't hang loose and are in the way. We also put a metal cover over the tanks. These covers are made part of our dog display and our exercise pens. And these are just taken apart, and they go over the top of the tank to keep children from reaching in or adults from picking up the chicks. For bedding the tanks, we use Nature's Pine bedding. One bag of Nature's Pine bedding will do approximately 2 tanks. And we just dump about half of that bag in there, spread that around. Try to make sure that it's as even as we possibly can. It just needs just enough to cover the bottom of the tank. It doesn't need to be too deep. That will be cleaned every day or so, depending on how many chicks are in that tank. In a 4-foot tank, we can put approximately 100 baby chicks in there when they come in. As they get older, hopefully you've sold half of them. In 2 or 3 days, 50 is probably the maximum in that tank, and if you haven't sold that many, you'll need to move them to other tanks. So in a 4-foot tank, we use a plastic 2-foot feeder. These are available at all of our stores. We fill that with, these tanks are going to be filled with layer type breeds of chicks. So we just kind of even that off. Once it's full, one of the good things to do is to sprinkle just a little bit of grit on top. That keeps chicks from being able to, from pasting up, and in warm weather it's not as necessary as in cold weather. Cold weather chicks are stressed. That helps them to grind the feed as they eat it. And just place that under the heat lamp to one side. That will keep the chicks able to have heat if they need it, and be able to eat or move away from the heat under the heat lamp if it's too warm for them. 1 gallon water. I use an extra base underneath, put the base down and set the water on top. That keeps the water out of the waste product. It keeps your water cleaner. And I put that at the far side of the tank. With that, we use a water with Chick Boost in it. Aquarius Boost is what we are recommending here at the store level. It takes 1 scoop of Chick Boost per gallon of water. You'll notice that it will turn the water yellow as you use it. In the package is a scoop This is a 2-gallon container of water, and the water needs to be warm, lukewarm, and just kind of level full, just enough to dissolve the water. Be sure to stir that in good. And fill your water as full as possible. And this should be done the night before the chicks arrive, so that we make sure that the water is at room temperature. We place the base onto the water, make sure that it's tight, and very quickly flip it upside down and then place that into the tank. So when doing ducks and geese, we always use pine shavings instead of the bedding pellets. The reason we use pine shavings in those tanks at that time is that the ducks can swallow one of those pine bedding pellets, and then they swell up inside them as the water it goes into the pellet, and to keep them healthy, be sure to always use just pine shavings. I like the Nature's pine shavings. They're nice and soft when you put the new baby ducks in. Also need to remember that with baby ducks, we need to be pulling the water after approximately 5 minutes of the ducks in. Pull the water for 5 to 15 minutes, put the water back until they get accustomed to drinking the water. And that's just something to keep in mind on the ducks. They just take a little extra care just for the first hour or so, and then they're fine. And we're ready for chicks to arrive. Really a simple process, only takes a few minutes. The tank is clean. The chicks have a nice warm home when the electricity is turned on and the light comes on and to warm them up. They should be turned on the night before to make sure that the water is warm and to the same temperature as the environment around them. When the customer arrives to pick up their chicks, we provide the chick boxes for them. These are provided by Wilco and some of our sponsors. Take the chick box once you've got it together. Take just a handful of pine shavings, place in the box. That makes a nice, comfortable place to set the baby chicks in. It keeps them off of the cardboard to get them home, so they get off to that good start also. That's just one of the things we do. When you place the chicks in the box, you write the SKU on the box and how many the customer is receiving. And always before handing this to the customer, give them a chick care guide. Ask them if they would like one. If they have not had chicks in the past, that is important. It has all the information in that guide that they will need when they get home, because sometimes you can tell them what the temperature needs to be, when to change the food, but it's all in this little handbook as to what age they would go on to layer food. And that's really important, because that's a question that we get asked many times during a day.